Hi, I'm Sarah Dessen, and I'm the author of Change of Plans. Change of Plans is a book about a girl named Finley, and as the book begins, she and her boyfriend Colin are graduating from high school together, and they're about to spend the summer together and then go off to college together. So in Finley's mind, everything is laid out exactly the way it's supposed to be. Then, of course, what often happens in the world, the universe has other ideas. And pretty soon things blow up in her face a little bit, and she's got to find a new path forward. And really what the book is about is not what we do when everything works out, but what we do when it doesn't. So I'm going to read a little bit from the first chapter of Change of Plans. Chapter 1. It was always awkward when we got together, but this was excruciating. Okay, everyone, try to pretend you like each other, said Colin's dad, who was holding his phone, one finger squarely over the camera lens. Unaware, he continued to shout direction. Finley, squeeze in with your mom a bit more, and Marisol, come in on the other side. Next to me, I felt my mother, always on edge, grow even sharper. It was always a lot for her to be with the rest of my family. My dad, stepmom, the twins, Will and Piper, and baby Leo, because, well, we were a lot. And she was used to being alone, except when she was at work or with me. The rest of the time, I had no idea what she did. For someone who birthed me, it was weird she was so much of a mystery. Marisol, my stepmom, did as requested, pressing in on my right. She had Leo fussing in one arm. It was way past his nap time, as she tried to keep my brother Will from frog punching Piper by reaching around my dad, who looked exhausted, as always. Joel, Colin's mom said, as her husband told my mom to get in even more, just take the picture. Please, Heather, Colin's sister, shielded her eyes with one hand. It's so hot out here. It's graduation. It has to be perfect, and I've almost got it. Do you, though? Colin said, coming up behind him. He took the phone, freeing the lens, and then stepped back and bent down, instantly getting everyone into frame. My hero. Even if he had been making the rounds, giving hugs and high-fiving basically our entire class while I was dealing with all this. Okay, everyone, say Finley's awesome. Finley's awesome, everyone said, although I only heard Will, who yelled everything. Click, click. I watched Colin's goofy stance as he shot the pictures, so grateful for him, once again for making this easier. His family was a tight unit, parents married 20 plus years, older sister already at DeFreeze, running for student office herself. Colin, the most ambitious person I've ever met, was considered the family slacker. Meanwhile, at our messy house, money was usually short, diapers and rogue Lego pieces ruled, and someone was always leaving a fridge door open. My stepmom was sweet, but always exhausted, a match set with my dad, who had discovered napping in his car in front of the house the day before, having dozed off between cutting the engine and taking the groceries out of the trunk. And then there was my mom, Catherine Finley Hope, who was now standing beside me, her posture straight, sunglasses on as she regarded Colin and the camera. In her black dress and suit jacket, hair pulled back, she looked out of place on the lawn of Jackson High as she did anywhere that was not a boardroom or an office. A dark blotch, eerily quiet as Colin started another round of Finley's awesome, and my brother and sister increased their volume. Even with all the noise, I was very aware that my mom did not chime in. Like I said, awkward. Let's get one all together, Colin's dad said, just as we finally began reclaiming our personal space. I looked at Miss Frisbee, but she was already on it, gently reminding him that we'd be late for our lunch reservation, where we could get plenty of pictures inside. Then Colin was handing Marisol her phone back, or trying to, as Leo dove for her boob while she scrambled to cover up. I'll call the restaurant to let them know we're on the way, my mother said, her voice low, always finding my ears no matter what other kind of chaos was around. Mom, Will hit me again, Piper reported. Shh, my dad told her, taking Leo. Marisol grabbed a twin's hand in each of hers and began pulling them out of earshot. She always hated when they acted up, but with my mom as an audience, it was worse. All right, everyone, Mrs. Frisbee clapped her hands. To Luna Blue. We're in the back private room, thanks to Catherine. I still can't figure out how you got that reservation. They swore they were fully booked. At this, my mom just flashed her work smile, or really her only smile. Just enough teeth, measured warmth, quick. Just a connection I had. Well, I can't wait, Mr. Frisbee said, rubbing his hands together. I was thinking about those famous fried pickles the entire ceremony. Nice, Dad, Colin said. Glad you enjoyed my speech. I can think food and pay attention, his dad assured him, and Mrs. Frisbee laughed. I especially like the line about your father being your inspiration, and the Churchill quote. Nice touch. At this, Colin smiled. He played a big game, always, but I knew how much his dad's approval meant to him. Gotta know when to use the right words. Smart kid. As Mr. Frisbee pulled him in for a hug, his wife and Heather looked on, smiling. Yet again, I was reminded how, as a family, they were like this warm light, calling me closer. I just wanted to sit in it forever. Finley, congratulations. I turned to see Mrs. Fallon, my English teacher. She'd been my favorite of the faculty at Jackson, even before agreeing to advise my senior honors project, an oral history at a local retirement home. Thanks, I said, glancing over at Colin, who was still talking to Heather and his parents. Suddenly aware of my mom beside me, I said, this is my mom, Catherine. Mom, this is Mrs. Fallon. I told you about her. Of course. My mom extended a hand. In her sleek suit, she was a studied opposite of Mrs. Fallon, who was in a dress I recognized from Cork, the discount place where I shopped as well. From what Finley says, you've been a real influence and mentor. I flushed. Of course, she'd sum up something I couldn't even explain with a few words of corporate speak. Mrs. Fallon smiled. It was my pleasure. You've got a really cool kid here. I can't wait to see what she does next year. Hearing this, I felt a bolt of panic. Only 2 people know that I'd actually gotten into my dream school, Pacquiana College, and turned it down to go to the U with Colin, me and Mrs. Fallon. It would have been just me, but she had a friend in admissions. Now I had a flash of when I told her my plans, how her face fell before she carefully rearranged it. She'd felt so many things from me over the years, but disappointment had never been one of them until then. The university will provide lots of opportunity, my mom said now. I'm an alum myself. Of course she'd need to point this out. Mrs. Fallon was smart, educated, and someone I admired. It would only take half of that to bring out the competitor in my mom. It is, Miss Fallon agreed, although I'm sure we can all agree that Finley would thrive anywhere. My mom took a beat hearing this. With her sunglasses on, I couldn't make out her eyes. The crowds from graduation were dispersing to the parking lot, and for the first time, I felt that now really it was over. High school, my time at Jackson. So much lead up, the farewell tour that was senior year, and only now did it hit me. Finley, Colin called out. I looked over to see him standing with his parents and my dad, Marisol, just beyond with all 3 kids, trying to herd them to the car. You ready to go? Looking at him, I felt that warmth again. It didn't matter what other paths I might have taken. This was what I had chosen. I met Colin Frisbee on my first day of junior year at Jackson. It was like entering a new world. Until then, I'd spent my entire life at the Fountain School, the crunchy private school where my mom and stepmom and dad both taught. But after a lifetime with the same kids, I was determined to make a change. So I left my friends behind to keep exploring their feelings in sharing circles while I tried public school. It seemed like a great idea until I had to walk in alone that muggy August morning. My first class was U.S. history, and I arrived to find the room already packed, with only a handful of desks left. I scanned them, considering my options. I could be adjacent to a stocky guy at a muscle tee who was drawing video game logos in his notebook, or at a table with 2 girls who had their laptops already open and books out, ready to begin. The last spot was next to a guy with brown, short hair, wearing a green t-shirt and beat-up flip-flops, who was drumming a pencil against his temple. Door number 3, it was. Just as I slid into the desk, Mrs. Hernandez, standing at the front of the room, clapped her hands. Hello, everyone. This is U.S. history. If you're not supposed to be here, this would be a good time to gracefully exit. Silence. No one left. She continued. Great. This semester, we'll be learning about this great country of ours, although I bet you think you know it pretty well already. Am I right? No one seemed to be sure whether this was a rhetorical question. One of the laptop girls started to raise her hand just in case it wasn't. Well, let's find out. Grab a partner. This got a response, and not an altogether positive one. Clearly, everyone had been expecting an easing of sort into the new semester. But partners? People, Ms. Hernandez said with a sigh. This isn't prom. Just turn to the person beside you or behind you and introduce yourself. A groan from the back, and then people started shifting around and talking. I was at the end of a row, so I turned to face the guy in the green t-shirt, hoping he already hadn't turned to his left. He had not. In fact, he was sitting there, his face expectant. Colin Frisbee, he said, sticking out his hand. He had a very clean-cut look to him, even features, perfect teeth. And you are? Finley, I said, feeling my face flush. Hope. Finley and Colin, he repeated. We sound like a singer-songwriter duo. Can you carry a tune? No. I'm not great either. Guess we better stick to history, huh? And with that, he grinned at me. Not smiled, but grinned. And until I met Colin, I honestly hadn't realized there was much of a difference. But it was obvious in the way this simple thing lit up both his whole face and, I was embarrassed to admit, my heart. Yowza. Later, I'd hear a million stories about Colin and his grin. How as a baby and a kid, everyone commented on the way he assured he never met a stranger, one of many things making him a born politician, as his dad would say. But at that moment, I thought that grin was mine alone, and I liked that. Okay, Ms. Hernandez said. Next, grab a piece of paper and a pen. I'm going to mark 10 minutes on the clock. When I say go, I want you to list all 50 states. Now one of the laptop girls, who had straight black hair and glasses, did raise her hand. Ms. Hernandez, is this a competition? It is. First team to get all the states within the time limit gets extra credit points. Do you really think that's wise, that everyone here can, handle it? There was a flurry of laughter, although I wasn't exactly sure of the joke myself. Then I realized Miss Hernandez was smiling, looking at my partner. Colin, can you do this without having a breakdown? She asked. No, the other top girl said and snorted. That was last year, Colin said, but it was clear he was in on the joke, that this was a thing. And I might add a possibly biased call on the part of the official. I was the official, Miss Hernandez said, and it was the wrong answer. Last year, Colin said again, and everyone laughed. I'm a new man now. Please proceed. Competitive Colin, the laptop girl with the glasses added. We'll all be praying for your partner, poor thing. Oh, Finley's going to wipe the floor with you guys, he replied confidently. I won't even have to help. What? I thought. Go, yelled Miss Hernandez, and the room was suddenly buzzing. Colin immediately wrote down our home state. 49 to go. What's our strategy? Are you really that competitive? I asked. No, he said, writing down California, Oregon, and Washington. Maybe. Yes. How are you on the Midwest? Not as good as you think I am, I said. Put down Hawaii and Alaska. My feeling is that you have a killer instinct. I have a sense for these things. He was writing down states quickly as he spoke. All of New England, the Deep South, Texas, and the Gulf. Do the Norths and Souths, Dakotas and Carolinas, I said. I noticed what the girl with the glasses behind him was listening to us and grabbed a pencil, gesturing not to talk. He shot me a thumbs up, then pushed his desk closer so we were right next to each other, making room for me to add to the list. Instead, I found an empty spot on the page and started to draw a map. You are brilliant, he scribbled, in between adding Virginia, Maryland, and Tennessee. Flattered, I started filling in the mid-Atlantic states, then moved west. I got hung up for a second on Arkansas and Michigan, but rallied. All around us, people were shouting states, but we were stealthy, silent except for the scraping of his pencil and mine. W's and M's, I scribbled, having run out of sure things I knew in the middle of the map. Montana, Wyoming, Wisconsin, Minnesota, he added. Then he looked at me, eyebrows raised. I snapped my fingers. Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, I wrote. 4 corners, he said. Nice. Shh, I said, swatting at him with my hand. Oh, sorry, he said. I could feel him watching me as I bent my head back over the paper, thinking. 5 minutes to go, announced Miss Hernandez. Colin looked back at the girls behind us. Keep your head in the game, I said. You want them to have bragging rights? Another smile. I might just love you, he announced broadly. Just saying. I couldn't dwell on this. Okay, maybe I did for a second, because we only had 3 left to go. Come on, I said under my breath, running my pencil over the makeshift map. Colin was biting his lip, thinking as well. Indiana, he wrote. Illinois. 1 left. We looked at each other. Suddenly, nothing mattered more to me than remembering this one last state. A squeal from the laptop girls, and they huddled again over their paper. Colin looked at me. They're double checkers, he said. They've got it. There's no Idaho, I wrote down. I stuck up my hand. We're done. We have a possible winner, Miss Hernandez said, walking over to us, pending my check. We're done too, the girl with the black hair shouted. Too late, Kumara, Colin hollered back. But I was only focused on Mrs. Hernandez, running the finger down our list of states. When she reached the final one, she looked at me. He's going to be insufferable now, she told me. You know that, right? But I didn't care, wasn't thinking about that one bit as she declared us the champs. Some people were clapping, some booing, but all I could focus on was Colin, grinning wildly at me as he held up a palm for a high five. When I pressed my hand to his, he wrapped his fingers around mine, giving them a quick squeeze. Way to go, Idaho, he said. In all the noise and commotion, I heard him clear as day. Then I squeezed back. Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the book.